So let's start by just getting our parts warmed up. And I'll get you all muted since we're recording. Just want to warm up those muscles of the back and torso. Create some movement. Giving ourselves a little extra time for warming up today since it's so stinking cold. All right, and then dog wags tail. We want to take our spine through its range of motion. You're finding a pace that feels best for your body. Everybody's different. And then we'll do spinal cord breathing, but without the twist. So we bring those forearms together, we round through the spine, and then we bring the elbows back, lean back, look up, which makes me cough. So it's an exhale as we bend forward, inhale as we lean back, look up, elbows back. Last one. All right. Stretching me. There. Okay, so we are going to do shoulder rolls one at a time. And then other side. So really feel those muscles moving. We want to create movement in the upper back shoulders with this movement. And then hip circles. Change direction. And then we'll do our knee circles. And change direction. And for our balance, we'll do our step up to balance. So if you have stairs, you can use stairs. If you don't have stairs, this is what it will look like. So if you don't have stairs, it's a step forward, lift the knee up, hold it, and then step back, and then step forward with the opposite foot, and then lift that knee up. So you alternate step up to balance. If you have stairs, this is what it looks like. It's a step up and hold, step down, step up with the opposite foot, step up and hold. Alternating the foot that steps forward, alternating the leg that lifts. Hold that leg up for a second or two. It's a really, this is a nice, challenging balance. So again, this is what it looks like if you don't have steps. It is a little more challenging on steps. So we're activating hip flexors, we're working balance, we're working strength on the standing leg. Do one more set each side. So there's step up to balance. And now we're going to do our counter push-ups. So balance, and then we begin to do our activation. So we have our hands wider than shoulder distance apart on a countertop, that type of a height. If you have a back of a heavy dining room chair, you could use that as long as it's really heavy. We don't want you to crash and burn. So we take our feet away from the counter and we come down, chest to the edge of the counter. And you choose the amount of difficulty by how far back your feet are. You could also do a wall push-up or a door push-up if you don't have a counter that works for you. Some counter edges might be too sharp for your hands. So we're doing 5 to 15 of these, whatever feels appropriate for your body. And if you don't like to count, that's fine. You just go until you get those last two that feel pretty fatigued. You could even do more than 15 if that feels right for your body. Right. And now we will do our look at my list. Single leg balance with bicep curls. So grab your dumbbells. We have our shoulders back and down. We're not hunched forward. We lift up one leg and we'll do hammer curls. So a hammer curl, the thumb is up the whole time. Use your focal point to help you keep your balance. Five to 15. until you start to feel that fatigue, like, oh yeah, that's about as many as I choose to do. If you don't ever get to that place of fatigue, that's your sign that it's time to go up a weight. So like if you're at a 1 pound, you go to 2. If you're 2, you go to 3. If you're 3, I only have 5, so I don't have 4s. If 5 is too light, then you go to 8s or whatever you have. That's the next. You don't want to jump up too much, like you wouldn't want to go from a 5 to a 10. That's a drastic jump. If you watch, sometimes at TJ Maxx in North Platte, they have a good price on weights. Walmart usually has them, Amazon has them. So you're on your other foot now. And you're going until you feel that sense of fatigue. Like if you were to keep pressing through, then you wouldn't be able to hold your form. As soon as you get to that point, that's when you stop because you never want to do it if you can't hold your form. That means you could injure yourself. Next up is our stability ball warm up, and that is where we are just getting ourselves accustomed to being on the ball without falling on our behinds. Feels like my ball needs more air. So we want to sit, and if you're doing floor work, this is your time to get out your mat. If you don't have a ball, we're going to walk our feet away from the ball and just hang out on the ball with our head supported, our back is supported. We don't want to lift up that neck because that strains the neck. So let that, my shoulders are on the ball, my bra strap is on the ball, but right below that is off the ball. My head is supported. So we are using our core muscles, psoas, abdominal muscles, to be stable. We're also using our thigh muscles, front and back, and probably a little bit of glutes. And then walk yourself back up, sitting back up. And then you'll need to grab your dumbbells. So grab your weights, your dumbbells, and come back. If you're on your mat, you probably have them beside you. We're going to do our chest presses. So first of all, we need to get ourselves back down to that same position where our head is supported and our upper back is supported and everything else is hanging off the ball. So chest press, the elbows come out to the sides. We do not go clear down against the ball. We don't want to overextend. So we've got our elbows straight out from our shoulders. Our palms are up and we press up. And those hands come maybe a little bit closer together as they press up and then come back down. We're coming straight up and straight back down. We do not want to lift our head off the ball. It needs to be supported. So chest press, we are pressing away from the chest toward the ceiling. Try to keep the wrists straight. Excuse me. For me, when I have my wrists straight so I don't break the straight line on my wrist. That means that the inner two edges of the dumbbell are higher than the outer two edge, and that's okay. So you're going to do 5 to 15. You're going to do it until you feel that sense of fatigue when it would be hard to keep your form, and you stop. And then you rest. And then we'll do our chest fly. So these are butterflies, flies. You take, it's like you're hugging a tree. So those arms are overhead, straight above your chest. And then you come out to the outside edge, but you don't go out too far to the side. You're not lowering your elbows down to your shoulder level. Their elbows are above the shoulders, and you come back up toward each other. So it's hug a wide hugging tree, and then a less wide hugging tree. And you keep your head supported. When you get that sense of fatigue, it's time to rest. And then next up is our tricep extensions. So you can do these a couple different ways. You can have those hands clear back behind you, but my weights are too heavy for that. So I've got my elbows directly above my shoulders, and I'm just extending those arms toward the ceiling. So my forearms are parallel. My palms are facing each other. It's kind of like a hammer curl, but it's a tricep extension. I'm working the back of my upper arms, also working my forearms. And it doesn't take very many because I've got heavier weights than I typically have for that. So I listen to my body and I say, okay, 5 was perfect for that weight. So do as many as feels right for your body, for your level of weights that you have in your hands. So without weights, it could look like this. I could go clear back. But with weights, for me, it was more like this, with those arms directly out of my shoulders to the ceiling. All right, we can get off our balls when you're ready. Set that aside, we're finished with it. If you're on your mat, we're gonna go back up to standing, and we'll grab our resistance band. So just to review what we did on our list here that I sent you last week, and if anybody wants a Google sheet of it, I can send it to you, or if you want to print it, I can send it as a Google sheet list. So chest press, chest fly, tricep extensions, and do our ball squats in a minute, or our wall squats. So we're going to use our resistance band. We've got a hand on each end. We step in the middle. And remember how last week I told you to keep an eye on your band, to really inspect it. Sorry. You want to inspect it to make sure that it's not getting any thin or weak spots. I noticed last week after I told you that my band was starting to get holes in it. My tube, I've had it for a really long time. So I threw it away. So we are standing on it, doing our bicep curls. We've got our palms up. This is different than hammer curl. Hammer curl would be thumbs up. This is palms up. We're doing 5 to 15. We're just listening to our body when it gets to that sense of being shaky. We keep our forearms hugged in toward the side of our body, the rib cage. And you feel like you might not be able to hold your form anymore, then it's time. That's how you know you're to that point of fatigue. So we'll rest. Maybe roll the shoulders a couple times. We'll do that on the other foot. You can step on the band with the other foot and begin again when you're ready. Keep the elbows and upper arms hugged into the rib cage. It's like you glue your upper arms to the side body. Palms are up. And you might notice maybe it's not going to take as many on this side because you've already done a set of them. So you go to that place where you feel fatigue, or like maybe you wouldn't be able to hold your form. And then you reach that point of fatigue or compromising form, and you say, okay, that's enough. So now let's do our door anchor. So we take our door anchor or our knot in our TheraBand. We have it about shoulder height. We double check to make sure it's sturdy. If the door isn't going to come crashing open. And we'll do our 2 rows. So we choose how far to step back from that door. We're leaning back. If you have any concern about your band, like breaking or coming loose, you should put your feet in a lunge stance, one foot in front of the other, because then if you did get released suddenly, then you would have a way to catch yourself. But I do not have concerns, so I'm going to keep my feet even like this, and I'm leaning back. So we're going to pull those resistance bands toward our chest. Our elbows are out, our palms are down, and our heart is lifted while we're leaning back. We release it, we go back 2, 3, 4. So we back and then release 2, 3, 4, keeping that tension, because that's where we build the muscle, is on the return. Back, 2, 3, 4, back. We're squeezing our shoulder blades toward each other as if we could hold a pencil between our shoulder blades. And when you're finished, then you'll switch sides, switch direction. So you're now facing away from the door. The band is under your armpits, depending on what you have on for clothing. And I'm leaning away from my door because I am trusting that it's stable. So then I will press, this will be a chest press with the tube. So we press out Our palms are down, trying to keep our wrists straight, and then back, 2, 3, 4. Press, back, 2, 3, 4. Now you could do this with rotation, so you could come back with your palms facing each other, thumbs up when you've got your hands close to your armpits, and then rotate and press out to palms down. So this is a variation. You can try it each way and see what you prefer. Or you can keep those palms down the whole way with the elbows back. Just a little bit different. So variations. You go to that point of fatigue where you would lose your form if you kept going. You stop before you lose your form. And whenever it's right for you, you switch. We'll do our 2 rows. So step back away from the door, palms down, elbows back, heart lifted, and then keep that tension as you go back, as you release. So it's back, release, 2, 3, 4, release, or back, release, 2, 3, 4. And you find the right number for your body to get to that point of fatigue. We can set our resistance band aside. Let's do our wall squats, door squats. You can choose to use a ball or not, whatever feels like it would be fun for you today. So I'm going to try the ball. This is a good way to help you build form for a proper squat. So we have our back, our head, our shoulders against the door, or we are leaning against the ball. We've got our feet away from out in front of us a ways, toes turned out slightly, and we dip down into our squat. We are pressing into our heels. We squeeze our glutes at the top. We might just dip down a couple inches at the beginning, but eventually we work our way so that we feel like we're down in that chair position. If we are feeling any discomfort in our knees, it means we're not pressing them enough into our heels. So we really put that weight into our heels. 5 to 15 to the point of fatigue or knee pain. And you stop if you're having knee pain. All right. And now we make our way to the mats. So get your mat spread out. You'll have to take your shoes and socks off. We'll do our spinal circles. Spinal circles. And then change direction. When you finish with the right number of spinal circles for you, get yourself into a wide leg stance or semi-wide leg stance, depending on how much your hip flexors are screaming at you. Press through the heels. The foot comes back toward you. We're just resting our hands. We're checking in with hip flexors. So I'm going to go ahead and go into bound angle because my hip flexors are cramping up. So that's telling me they're not quite ready. So we can butterfly. And then deer legs with our feet over to the right. So our feet are pointing to the right. We're going to twist to the left, rise through the spine. And then come out of it down onto our forearms. So we have our forearms out in front of this left knee. We're hinged forward at the hip. This is a big stretch through that left glute, through the left. It's an activation of the left hip flexor at the hip crease area. So feel the tension, the stretch on the back body, feel the compression on the front. We'll come out of that. We will windshield wiper. So we put those feet out in front of us. Our knees are bent and we'll sweep the knees from side to side. And then we'll do our deer legs the other way. So feet are pointed toward the left side. We're going to twist to the right. We rise through the spine and twist. Gaze behind. And then release it and come down onto your forearms in front of that knee on the right, stretching through the right glute. The right hip. Come back out of that. Let's go back into bound angle, check in and see what we notice, if anything. Is it easier for the knees to come closer to the floor? Rise through the spine. We've got our hands on our feet. We come up on our sit bones and maybe hinge forward any amount. We're checking in with this knee, with both knees. We're checking in to make sure they don't feel pain. If there is any sense of pain or discomfort in the knee, we bring our heels farther away from our sit bones. That reduces the compression on the knee. We hinge forward any amount. And then we'll check back in with our wide leg seat. Are we able to hinge forward any amount, or do we still have hip crease issues? So we're just checking in. So we bring those feet together. We'll take our right leg and put it into a figure 4. So we've got our right ankle above the left knee. So it's kind of like a backwards number 4 or forwards, depending on your positioning, because I'm mirroring. And then we place those hands on the extended leg and we hinge forward any amount. We've got our toes to the nose on the extended leg. The other ankle is also flexed in that 90-degree angle. Change sides. Hinge forward. Keep stretching. Let's come out of that. And we'll do our windshield wipering the knees from side to side. We're rolling through the glutes, giving ourselves a glute massage. Check back in with our wide leg seat. Hinging forward. Maybe you notice some progress. So yesterday we stretched out our hip flexors in the hip crease area when we did dancer pose in Qigong. And today we made a difference by doing that figure 4. Bring your feet back together, legs are out in front of you. We're going to take the left leg and step it over the right. It's hard to see with my black pants, but I've got my left foot on the outside of my right knee, and my left knee is bent. I'm going to wrap my, whoops, right, sorry. Left. Nope, yes, left. Okay. So I have my left arm wrapped around that left knee. The extended leg out in front is toes to the nose, and then I twist. So I'm looking over to the right, gazing behind. I'm making sure that this knee doesn't feel over compressed. If it does, I just change the positioning of that foot. And then we'll do that on the other side. So we step that foot on the outside of the left knee. We wrap the right arm around the right bent knee. We twist, gaze behind. The ankle on the extended leg is flexed, so toes to the nose. Rise through the spine and twist. Release that, come back, shake it out, and windshield wiper the feet. Go back out into a wide leg seat, press through the heels, toes to the nose, check in. Hinge forward any amount. Maybe you can get your forearms down to resting on your legs. Maybe you can get your forearms to the floor, maybe not. We keep our spine long. It's our tendency to just round through the spine. We do want to keep it long as we hinge forward. And let's make our way to extended child's pose. This will be our last thing today. So extended child's pose. We have our knees out to the outside edges of the mat, and we've got our forehead on the floor. Our arms are out stretched in front of us. Our palms are on the mat. And we take 3 deep breaths here. Extended child's pose is a really good way to stretch through the hip flexors, but also through the shoulders. You can come out of that when you're ready. Hands to heart center, sitting crisscross or however you're sitting. Rise through the spine. Thank you for the opportunity to teach. Namaste. There's our practice today. Hmm. Doesn't look like recording happened.
Thanks, Patty.
You're welcome. Thanks everyone for being here. Yes, you did. There we go.